Hi, I'm Bill the Geek, broadcasting not live from Mazatlan, Mexico. This is the Bill Dallas Lewis channel, and we make videos about the joys of living in Mexico. This is a 4-part series about dating in Mexico, so that when you meet people, you can put them through a survey and walk away happy. There are a lot of single people in Mexico, expats, Americans, Canadians, people from Holland, Great Britain, Australia. Sure, there are a lot of married couples and couples living together, but there are a ton of single people living in Mexico. You may not believe it, but I've been here for 18 years and I have a pretty extensive dating background. I'm going to talk about 5 women that I met here in Mexico in different cities, how I met them, and how different each experience was. Let's start off with my experience in Puerto Vallarta with a woman who I'm going to call KK. Now, in all these stories I'm going to tell you, all the names have been changed to protect the innocent. Now, before I start out with these various experiences, I had to do something to myself to increase my competency level so that I had the courage to go out and do things that maybe normally I wouldn't want to do. I call it putting on my green light. I have to tell myself, Bill, put on your green light, put on your green light. And when I put my green light on, I get superpowers. I've said it in a couple other videos, but bars are not the place to meet people in Mexico, and everything that I'm going to say in this video applies to males and females regardless of age. So once I had my green light turned on, I started looking at every opportunity there was to meet women. There was going to be a big gathering on the beach at a really nice hotel of about 500 people, and it involved a campaign that was going on at the time, and they were going to see who won the election. Doesn't really matter whether it was a Democratic or a Republican thing going on. All I knew is there was going to be a bunch of people there. I'm going to go and see what happens. So I get there, and they had all these big screen televisions, live broadcasts on who was going to win, who was going to lose, and they also had a buffet dinner. It cost like $25. So I walk into the place and I see the most beautiful woman in the place, KK. She was beautiful. She was about 5'9", slender, blonde hair, blue eyes, a great tan, and there was a chair open right next to her. So because I had my green light on, why not? I go sit next to her and start a conversation. And so I went over there, started a conversation. She went up to get her buffet plate. I followed her. We talked. The candidate that won, by the end of the evening, we both supported that candidate. We were very happy people, and the conversation was very good. So by the end of the evening, we had become friends and we exchanged email addresses and phone numbers. Over the course of about a month of time, we became very good friends with conversations on the phone. And so then I invited her over to my apartment, which had a swimming pool, my own swimming pool, overlooking the Bay of Puerto Vallarta. And I invited her to come over right as the sun was going down, and I was going to make dinner. Ends up that KK was a dancer when she was young on a big TV show in Los Angeles. And she knew all types of famous musicians like Bob Dylan and drummers and all this kind of stuff. And she was an excellent dancer, loved to dance, and she was just beautiful. So we're sitting up out by the swimming pool. The sun is going down, and then the sparks began to fly, and unbelievable things happened out next to that swimming pool that I will never forget. Ends up that KK was about 12 years older than me. She didn't look it. She looked like she was like 12 years younger than me. But we had a wonderful time, and we got together a few more times over a period of months, and that was it. Now, experience number 2 was very strange, and I had my green light on. I was just out walking around Puerto Vallarta, and I saw this little beautiful black woman walking down the street. I mean, she was beautiful. My green light was on, so I approached her, asked her her name, and it ends up that she had moved to Puerto Vallarta from South Africa. She had retired from a great profession, and she moved there with her daughter. She looked like a 5'3", dark-complected Barbie doll. It must have been about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and I asked her, hey, you want to have some coffee? And so we sat down, we had some coffee, we had a great conversation, and I was hopeful that this was the beginning of a great relationship. Everything was going very well, and I loved that South African accent. It sounds British, but I'm not all that cultured, so people from South Africa, Australia, Great Britain, to me they all sound the same. To you cultured people, you would know the difference as to who is who. So with my green light on, I tried to nudge the conversation my way a bit, if you know what I mean. And then she says, Bill, no, I like men that look like that man over there. Now, let me say, at the time when I met this woman, she had to be about 45 years old. And we're in this place that's filled with people eating lunch and drinking coffee and having beers. And I'm looking around to see what man is she pointing at? And she said, that one over there. And finally, I saw the man that she was talking about. It was this old gray-haired white man. He kind of looked like Rupert Murdoch today. Rupert Murdoch today is 92 years old. This guy didn't look like he could hardly walk. I thought she was kidding. Okay, so we finished our coffee, and that was it. Everything kind of fizzed out. A couple of weeks later, I was walking by the same restaurant, and it was kind of on the beach, and you could see all the people in there drinking coffee and having lunch, whatever they do. And there she was. She was there having the greatest time, and she was with this old gray-haired white man about the age of Rupert Murdoch, and she looked just so happy. For me, this story is about, one, having your green light on, but two, people have all kinds of people that they like. Some people like really older people. They want to take care of them. Some people like really younger people. So don't limit yourself to age or race or anything like that, because you never know what's going to turn somebody on. This third person that I met was from Amsterdam. She had a candy shop in Puerto Vallarta, and I ended up going into her candy shop, and she was beautiful. And I'd never met anyone from Amsterdam before, and we had a great conversation. And I said, hey, what's your phone number? What's your email? Let's get together. We got together many times. We had a lot of fun together. She came over to my apartment in Cinco de Diciembre in the poor area of Mexico. And she brought a bunch of funk music. She loved funk music that was created in Amsterdam. And she gave me a bunch of music. She was a great lady and beautiful. And I'm sure she had some breast augmentation done while she was in Puerto Vallarta. I'm sure about that. We got along really great, but her mother still lived in Amsterdam and got very ill, so she had to return to Amsterdam to take care of her mother. The fourth woman I met her at a restaurant. Again, I get out and about, or I was getting out and about the city of Puerto Vallarta around 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And I'm going to say that her name was Gigi. There were hardly any people in this restaurant, but Gigi was sitting in the far back of the restaurant all by herself. She was a beautiful blonde with striking green eyes. I mean, just striking. very healthy. And so I walked up to her and I said hello. Ends up she's from Poland. She grew up a very hard life in Poland because she lived there when the Communist Party was there, and she evacuated, and then she moved to Chicago, bought property there, and she was doing property there as a she was doing business there as a caretaker. What I remember a lot about when we first met was she had ordered a sandwich and she only ate half of it. She says, "Oh, you want the rest of this sandwich?" So I said yes, and I ate the sandwich and we talked some more. And she said, "I'm new to Puerto Vallarta. Can you like take me out and show me around Old Town?" And I said, "Sure." So we got up and walked around. We got to this one part of the city in Old Town. It's called the Romantic Zone. And the sun was going down, another beautiful night in Puerto Vallarta. And I said, "This place is called the Romantic Zone." And I gave her a kiss. It was corny. She looked at me like, "You're corny." I said, "Yeah." And I looked at her like, "Yeah, I know that was corny, but I got a kiss, right?" She left and went back to Chicago. We didn't touch each other the whole time she was there. She was only there for about 2 weeks. So we corresponded back. So what would happen was she owned a property in this neighborhood called Rogers Park. And I would go there for 6 weeks, and she showed me all around Chicago, a very intelligent woman. And I loved her Polish accent. It was so sexy. And if we weren't out touring Chicago, she was a documentary information reading freak. She knew all kinds of facts. She loved to learn, and that just turned me on more. So I would go to Chicago for 6 weeks. She would come down to Puerto Vallarta for 6 weeks. Things were just moving along. I think we saw each other for a year and a half or 2 years. Thing was, Gigi wanted to get married. She had picked out a small town in Mexico up in the mountains, and she said, "We could get married, we could live here." And I was just uncomfortable with that. I was not ready to get married again, and so everything kind of fizzled out. So now we move on to date number 5, and this will be called The One That Got Away. And this may be my last video on dating, but I have the last one, this one, and then the next one's going to be dating tips, the list. So I keep saying that I'm out at 2 o'clock going here and there, and this is where I'm meeting women. But at that time in my life, I was working online, so if I could get all my work done by 2 o'clock, I was making good money, and it was very intense work, so I could just walk out somewhere and relax. So I started going to a different place, and I would go there, have some coffee, get a sandwich, and different people would show up. But this one lady, oh, she was probably 5 years younger than me. She would go there with friends. She was cute, and I talked with her. I wasn't attracted to her, but we talked about what she did as a business, what I did as a business. She knew that I taught search engine optimization and web design. A couple of weeks later, she says, "Hey, I have a friend that wants to learn search engine optimization and web design. Could you teach her this?" I said, "Sure." So I meet her friend at this little restaurant where I met her, and the lady is beautiful. She was about 45, in great shape, very beautiful, a great disposition on life, and we got along very well. And I said, "Well, I can teach you this, but it would be best if you came over to my apartment where all my computers are set up, and I'll tell you everything." I totally forget her name, but when she came over to my apartment that early evening, she was dressed to the T. She had on one of those long skirts that go all the way down to your shoes, this beautiful blouse. She didn't even need makeup. She had a great attitude, and she told me all about her personal life. She wanted to develop a website about being happy and teach people how to be happy. And she told me how much money she had in the bank and how she earned money. I mean, all the bells and whistles were going off. A hard-working woman, beautiful, with a great mind, who wanted to make the world a better place. That's all I needed right there. I was in love. and I spent all that time with her, and I was very attracted to her, but right then, in that moment of my life, I had made a commitment with someone else, and that one thing I don't do is mess around. If I'm with you, I'm with you. So we finished up for the evening, we left my apartment, she got a taxi, and I wasn't gonna make a move on her, but she made a move on me and gave me a big hug and a big giant kiss, and we said goodbye. I call her the one that got away, because I should have broke up with what I was with and gone with her, and I would still probably be with her today and be a super happy individual. So there you go. I met a dancer from Los Angeles, a candy shop owner from Amsterdam, a lady from South Africa who liked old white guys, a Polish lady from Chicago, and none of these people I met in a bar. I met them all at organizations and groups and just walking around town with my green light on. So that's all I've got. I'm going to do one more video about do's and don'ts of dating in Mexico. There are some fabulous people down here. I want to thank you for watching. I'm Bill the Geek, and this is the Bill Dallas Lewis channel. Hit the subscribe button, click the share button, leave a comment, and we have many more videos to come, so I'll see you in the next video.